Welcome back to Two Birds and a Third Football Podcast. We got the whole crew here today. It's Josh, Ricky, Hank, and DJ coming to you live right now. We're going to run through our AFC and NFC East, AFC and NFC West, and then we're going to run down some of the primetime games and some of the other marquee matchups this season that we're going to get to see. We're excited to come back to you guys, so let's get it going because this is going to be an extra long one.
All right, so let's get it started with the AFC. The AFC East, arguably the most uncompetitive division in all of football. So to start off, Josh, you go ahead and lead us off with the New England Patriots, the current Super Bowl champions.
Well, the reigning NFL champions right now, they still have Tom Brady and they still have Bill Belichick. So they're always going to be contenders in, Super Bowl contender with those two. On top of that, they also have some strong corners in Butler and Gilmore. Picking up Stephon Gilmore is really helpful. And I think this is the most stacked Tom Brady's ever been on the offense. We have Cooks, Hogan, Amendola, Malcolm Mitchell, Philip Dorsett, Dwayne Allen, Gronk, James White, Dion Lewis, and Burkhead all coming in on the offense right now. So there's not many weaknesses to the Patriots. Bill Belichick is a very defensive-minded coach. So even with Tom Brady and his offensive sharpness, Bill Belichick still keeps in check that defense, and they're always a top 10 defense every single year. So with that being said, their record 18-3. I mean, they're always hovering above 12 wins every single year, and I don't see that changing.
Okay, so Josh, I have a quick question for you. Say hypothetically Tom Brady gets – I'm not wishing this on him by any means. If Tom Brady hypothetically gets injured and he's out for the entire season, whatever injury that may be, do you think the Patriots are still capable of contending for the Super Bowl?
Contending for the Super Bowl? Probably not, just because I think you need a seasoned quarterback, and I don't think Garoppolo is seasoned enough.
Okay.
Making the playoff? Absolutely. The playoff, even without Tom Brady, I cannot see them making a push for the Super Bowl.
Can I interject real quick on that note when you brought up Garoppolo? I think he's ready. I think he's ready to go out the gate. This guy's been sitting behind Tom Brady for the past 3 to 4 years, been learning. He's been very, very sharp in the whole preseason, as he always is. I think that it's going to be a game man. If, let's say, hypothetically, Tom Brady does get hurt, it's going to be a game managing situation. If there's any head coach that's more prepared to have their starting quarterback go down, it's Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
do you think? But I don't see Garoppolo. I don't see him being ready to be thrown into a playoff situation. I can see him doing well during the season. I just can't see him succeeding in the playoffs, especially against some of the teams in the AFC.
Just real quick from last year, though, they put in Garoppolo and then they put in Brissett, and they still did just fine.
What were those first 4 games, though?
That was the Texans, the Dolphins. It was
and the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, and then there was one more, wasn't there?
It was the Cardinals, I believe. Then it was the Texans. Then the Then it was the Dolphins, and then it was the Bills.
They lost to the Bills. I remember.
They got shut out by the Bills. Yeah.
Okay. And none of those teams have a stellar quarterback. If you're telling me that without Tom Brady, they're going to go against guys like Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco, Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota, possibly Andrew Luck.
Well, but you just said they could have a top 10 defense, though. I think that they can handle that.
See, here's my thing with the Patriots, and I want to try and keep us moving. So my whole thing is that I think you're going to see Garoppolo get more snaps. I don't want to compare the situation per se, and I'm not saying they're comparable to this kind of quarterback, but I remember towards the end of Bledsoe's career in Dallas, his career itself, but when he was in Dallas, he had Tony Romo behind him. Ironically, he went to Eastern Illinois, the same college as Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think what they did was they gave Romo some snaps during the regular season towards the end of games that were already decided. And don't be surprised if they start putting Garoppolo out there more. So
My
That's
question
why
is
he's there.
my question is this one thing, Josh. You said that this Patriots offense is the best it's ever been. Better than 2007?
With Randy Moss, I mean, it could be on par with that offense. Randy Moss had a lot of touchdowns that year, but I think as a whole, a unit, this offense is better than that offense. He's not going to throw 50 touchdowns again. Might throw in the 40s this year. I could see that, but I just think as a cohesive unit, this year's offense has a plethora of weapons that year didn't have. They had an incredible weapon in Randy Moss. I think they have more weapons this year.
okay. So with that being said, I'm pretty sure we're all thinking they're going to win at least 12+ games.
Yeah.
So I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move
Easily.
on. Let's move on to the
Wait,
team
I
that
have my
came.
3 bold predictions real quick.
My apologies. Yeah, go ahead.
Gronk plays 16 games. Brady has 3 players with 1,000 receiving yards. But I think that this year the Patriots lose their first game in the playoffs.
Oh, so they go one and done.
I think they can go one and done. So these teams that are coming into the NFL, even the wild card teams coming into the playoffs this year on the AFC, I already named them, but you're looking at possibly the Ravens, the Steelers, the Raiders, the Titans, the Colts, the Broncos, the Chiefs. I think all of those teams have a chance at beating the Patriots.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to, and this was probably, in my opinion, other than, of course, you had the Cowboys as the surprise team, but actually the surprise team, in my opinion, was the Miami Dolphins. They ended up winning, I believe, 6 or 7 games in a row to get a wild card berth before losing to the Steelers in the wild card. So Hank, go ahead and do a rundown of the Dolphins real quick.
So we would all remember that playoff game. Ryan Tannehill did not play. He was injured in the Arizona Cardinals game that season, so they were forced to play Matt Moore. The Dolphins are an interesting team. They're an interesting team that has a good deal of offensive weapons, but they've always been hampered with the quarterback injury bug, which has often hampered the career of Ryan Tannehill. And it was really a mad scramble to get a quarterback. They, of course, considered players like Colin Kaepernick, but they eventually settled on Jay Cutler, who, Adam Gase is comfortable with working with because Adam Gase was the offensive coordinator for Jay Cutler when he had his best statistical season, apparently, with the Chicago Bears. The Dolphins are an interesting team. They've got Jay Ajayi, who is an completely up and coming running back, a guy who, you could possibly get in your first or second round if you haven't drafted in fantasy football yet. And they've got a good deal of weapons, including Jarvis Landry, and I believe they also have Kenny Stills at receiver too. And on defense, Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh. It's a force. So
Plus Kiko Alonso.
Oh, Kiko Alonso too, who I will say it's interesting. I was in a bar with a bunch of people from Los Gatos, California, and I ended up, announcing to everyone in the bar that Kiko Alonso sucked. And obviously, everybody thought I was an asshole. So
and they killed you.
And they killed me. The end. But I will say Kiko Alonso, not injured this or last season, he played well. So really,
so
the
does this team make the playoffs?
No, but I think that they can win 9 games. This team will go as far as Jay Cutler will take them. And I do like their weapons on offense, and I do like their front seven, but you're gonna have to beat the Patriots once, at least, And I just think that since this AFC is so packed with top heavy dominance, that you're stuck in a situation where you've got the Raiders, you've got the Broncos, you've got the Chiefs, you've got you've got all these teams who can play well, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Texans, the Titans. I just think that this AFC is too top heavy for the Miami Dolphins. So I'm gonna say somewhere around 9-7, maybe 10-6 could be the record. So you want me to do my bold predictions before everyone?
Sure, why not?
The record prediction.
No, that's fine.
So my bold predictions are that Jay Ajayi will record 15 rushing touchdowns and 6 receiving touchdowns next season, and I think that's bold predictions. But I think that's something that could actually happen. I think that Jarvis Landry will receive for 8 receiving touchdowns, and I think Kiko Alonso will run back 2 interceptions for touchdowns.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to the Buffalo Bills. I took a look at the Buffalo Bills. In my personal opinion, they're the living, their team epitomizes mediocrity. Ever since the year
1999.
Yeah. Ever since 99, they haven't appeared in the playoffs since. I wasn't even, a toddler.
2016, Ricky.
The Bills.
The Bills.
Oh, the Bills? Oh, I thought you were saying the Dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. No, but the Bills have not yet appeared in the playoffs for most of my life, for the most part. And unfortunately, it appears this team is going back into rebuild mode. I mean, they did appear as if they had the ability to contend for a playoff spot with Tyrod Taylor and the weapons they gave him with, LaShawn McCoy, Sammy Watkins, as well as some weapons on defense. But unfortunately, after trading Sammy Watkins, it appears that they are looking to move on from Tyrod Taylor as well. I just think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be a sub-500 team this year, like always. Unless I'm proven wrong. And, they have an aging running back in LaShawn McCoy. Yeah, sure, he can produce, but unfortunately, I don't expect him to, I don't expect him to put up as, I'm pretty sure he could produce decently, but I don't expect him to keep it up for much longer. For them trading Sammy Watkins, I don't think this was a good move. Unless if they keep Tyrod Taylor as the guy, it's a bad move. But if they move on, they better hope that this was a good move. Because, in my personal opinion, I think it was stupid of them to do this. Yeah, sure, you get Jordan Matthews from the Eagles, but the guy already got hurt. And, yeah, sure, you got some picks, but you have to do stuff with those. So, anywho, as for my record predictions, I'm predicting 6-10. Mainly because I don't think that this team has enough weapons to post up an 8-8 or 9-7 record. Now, as for 3 bold predictions, my first bold prediction is that LaShawn McCoy rushes for less than 1,000 yards. My second bold prediction is that Tyrod Taylor gets 6 rushing touchdowns. And the dog is upset with my picks. And then my final bold prediction is that Tyrod Taylor gets traded at the end of the season, sometime in the free agency. So I'm pretty sure we're ready to talk about...
That last one doesn't sound like a bold prediction.
It sounds like a...
I don't think Tyrod's performed very well since he's been... He has flashes, but I don't think overall he's a complete quarterback.
No,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the New York Jets. DJ, you have an expertise in analyzing garbage teams. So can you give us?
It's like, ugh.
You know what? Try not to laugh at your own jokes there. All right, bud.
Okay.
But yes, I do have an experience in this, and you know what? There's not much to say about the Jets. There were a couple transactions that were made. They just signed. They got Mr. Curley on their receiving core now. They also traded away one of their offensive linemen, Richardson, to the Seahawks for, I think, a draft pick, maybe a 5th or 6th round. But
it was a third round pick.
Third round pick. Not a lot to say about the Jets other than they are tanking. I don't see them doing very well in the AFC East, and that's not saying a lot. I'd have to go with the predictions on the record, and I guess this is one of my bold predictions as well. I guess it might not be too bold, but 0-16. I think they're going 0-16 this year. I also believe in three bold predictions. Let's just go with that. One of their quarterbacks throws for 10 touchdowns in the year. Their running back rushes for 1,000 yards. And their defense might be top 10 defense. That's another bold prediction. I think the Adams in the safety, I think hopefully they have some shimmering hope with that going there. But, yeah, it's pretty bleak out here in the Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak here.
It's bad in the sense that, like, usually, like, you'll have one team that's tanking, but unfortunately they even have a team that's tanking in their own division. I mean, it seems like there are like 2 or 3 teams in the NFL that are currently trying to tank, and the issue is the Bills just seem like a better team anyway.
They do. And real quick, I will say this. The Jets owner is now out of the country for the remainder of the NFL season, and he left it to his brother. That's how bad the situation here is.
Why did he leave?
Because I would leave too. I'm not going to do anything with this season. I'm just going to go out and enjoy myself.
I mean, you go out and you look at the preseason. I mean, the 4th game of the preseason is usually supposed to be just for backups. The Jets were out there with Josh McCown, their starter, for a whole quarter.
And he got hurt.
No, he got hit, but he came back in after the next play. But I mean, Josh McCown seems like the kind of quarterback who, you know, you'll entrust him to possibly be the mentor for the heir apparent quarterback. But
there's no heir.
They don't have that on their team right now. I mean, Bryce Petty is injured. Hackenberg couldn't hit the ocean from the beach. So it's just a situation where that team is screwed. And I think the one guy who I really do feel sorry for, even though I don't like him that much, is Todd Bowles.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is still going to look like he's holding back a loaf on that sideline, but, I mean, he's just going to have to take it, you know?
Unfortunately.
They should have drafted a quarterback.
Well, I mean, who would they have drafted? Deshaun Kaiser. They should have. They could have gone for Deshaun Kaiser. They were too high in the draft.
They could have traded back.
The USC quarterback. That's what they're really going for. That's
Sam
why they're
Darnold?
taking this year.
Sam Darnold.
Yes, sir.
Wait, Mark Sanchez?
What about
NFL
McSorley? What about McSorley? Or McSwirly?
No.
Okay.
All right, we're moving on.
Okay, let's move on to the NFC West. So this division was probably one of the uncompetitive divisions, mainly because the Cardinals were aloof and literally Carson Palmer just was like derp, and David Johnson was the Cardinals' offense for the most part. So the Seahawks won the division pretty easily. I mean, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
At a 10-5-1 record. Yes, I understand that. I believe the Cardinals went 8-7-1, but again, you know,
I think it's the opposite.
It's
I think they
mediocre.
went 7-8-1. I could be wrong.
Whatever. Anyhow, so Josh, go ahead and lead us off with the Seahawks.
Well, it's Russell Wilson, and I believe Russell Wilson's one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league. I think not just his tangibles, his on the field ability, his scrambling ability, his arm, his pocket awareness, tangibles, his leadership skills, and how that team rallies around him. I think as long as he's the quarterback there, this team's always going to see them having a bounce back year. Their defense got stronger thanks to the dumpster fire that is the Jets. Sheldon Richardson going over to the Seahawks is going to make that Seahawks defense really good because no matter where he goes. So I could see the Seahawks going this year 11-5.
Mm-hmm.
They have a tough schedule. They have some tough games on their schedule. The 49ers I don't think are tough, but they do have to play the Titans, the New York Giants, the Texans, the Falcons. They have to play the Eagles as well, and the Cowboys and Cardinals. So they do have some tough teams on that road, but then again, they do get to play the Rams twice, the 49ers twice. They get to go against the Jaguars this year.
I think the Rams and the 49ers are going to surprise some people.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be that bad.
I don't think they're going to be hanging out where the Jets are.
Oh yeah.
Bad of a
no,
but I
wouldn't.
I don't think
I wouldn't
surprise anybody and go 9-7 or 8-8.
Yeah.
Somebody 5-11.
Okay, so this is what I've been seeing, and I had to make this argument now. And I'm not trying to look at this through a lens. I'm going to compare these two teams. So I had someone tell me that he believes that the Seahawks are going to go 13-3, right? My whole idea is that and the same guy says the Cowboys are going to go 9-7. Here's my logic of reasoning. The Seahawks are the legit opposite of the Cowboys. They have it's like a mediocre offense. I'm not saying Russell Wilson isn't bad. I'm just saying like you get rid of who did they get rid of? Was it Doug Baldwin?
No,
I don't remember.
They still have him. They got rid of Curse.
No, they got rid of Golden Tate because he had inappropriate relations.
They got rid of Curse.
They traded a receiver to the Jets.
They traded Curse.
Okay.
Oh, they traded Jermaine Kurtz for Sheldon Richardson.
Yeah. So let me get back to what I was saying. So the basic thing is you take away weapons from Russell Wilson. You're basically trying to get back that we have an elite defense. And my whole thing is that people that think the Seahawks are now all of a sudden back to that 2014 form, I don't think they're there because, see, the reason why I don't think they're there is they don't have the same like when they had a beast mode. Beast mode was such a phenomenal player for that team. Like he, in essence, was the identity of that team. Ground and pound football and very tough defense. Unfortunately, me personally, I only see them winning at most 11 games. I mean, if you that offense could only do so much. Yes, the defense is super strong, but if your offense is bare bones, and yeah, you could say the same thing. Well, if your defense is bare bones, then you can't go anywhere. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. I
don't know. I think their defense is. Look at on paper, their defense is pretty elite. I mean, back end, you got Earl and Cam, and then your linebackers in the middle, you have Bobby Wagner, you have KJ Wright on the outside, you also have Cliff Averill, Sheldon Richardson, and Michael Bennett on that line. I think they're tough.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Michael Bennett?
Man, Michael Bennett is stupid.
I mean, what happened to Michael Bennett?
Oh, hold up. Josh has himself muted. Give me a sec.
That might be a topic of discussion maybe after this because we could get pretty deep into that.
So what's his bold predictions?
Yeah, what are your bold predictions? Josh, he saw his mic muted. So we're gonna I'm gonna wait. Let's see. See, I think that
Sorry, guys. I'm back. Dogs are barking. Dogs are barking. I didn't want it to come over. So, sorry. I was going to say that I think Michael Bennett is good. I think that he's a strong player, really strong player, and he anchors that line. Well, there's three guys that anchor that line: Cliff Averill, Sheldon Richardson, and Michael Bennett. Predictions for the Seahawks is that they go to the NFC Championship this year. You can laugh. That's fine. It's a bold prediction. I think that Russell Wilson throw for 30 touchdowns and then rush for 10. And I also think that they're going to establish their running game this year.
Oof.
I think they can. I mean, they do have Eddie Lacy, but
Unless they're gonna turf their way.
The one thing you know about the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson, I mean, his running ability allows him to, make it easier for that team to rush the football.
Yeah, but my whole thing with the running ability is that kind of puts Russell Wilson at a disadvantage because if he has to keep running, he's more prone to injury. So let's go. So I think we should move on. Let's go ahead and move on to the Arizona Cardinals. Probably the most the fall from grace team from last year. Well, other than the Carolina Panthers, but I mean, so Hank, what do you got about the Carolina Panthers? I mean, not Carolina Panthers. the Arizona Cardinals.
So let me just say right now that before last week, I got a message from a friend who's an Arizona Cardinals fan, who's been making videos on YouTube for a while, and he was like, "You better not skip over this team. You better do them justice." Let me just say that I hate the Arizona Cardinals. I hate the Arizona Cardinals. I hate their head coach. I think he's just one of the most annoying people on the planet because, especially when he's one of those guys who will argue a false start penalty. Like it
sounds like Andy Reid,
right? But no. I respect the Arizona Cardinals in the fact that, they've got David Johnson, and David Johnson is gonna, he's gonna do some heavy running, and David Johnson's gonna do some heavy catching, as David Johnson helps me run over the competition in my fantasy football league.
Hank, you know what? You don't need to bring up that right now. Why don't you just talk about anybody else but David Johnson right now, because y'all know what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's going to get injured.
So anyway, I think
that... But you don't see people go back-to-back.
Yeah, you don't see people going back-to-back with rushing titles, but I think that this is a staple year for guys like Carson Palmer. I think that if Carson Palmer pulls down another... like a year that he had last year, I think that his days could possibly be numbered. Obviously, the Arizona Cardinals have a very strong defensive backfield. They probably have, besides maybe the New York Giants, they have the best defensive backfield in the National Football League, especially with Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu. So, I mean, they've always been known for their defensive line and linebacking core. Larry Fitzgerald, the ageless wonder, is still there, playing wide receiver. I think that the biggest worry for them is their offensive line, and I really didn't watch them that much in the preseason, but I think the big tell is whether or not they made the right decision on that first round draft pick from Temple. What was his name again?
Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, Hassan Reddick. So, I mean, that was a surprise pick, seeing as though he went to a smaller school in a smaller conference. But I think that the Arizona Cardinals will surprise some teams. I don't like to play this game where I'm like, oh, they're going to go second place again. But I see the Arizona Cardinals going... I think, again, the NFC is a conference where anything could go, anything could happen. Any team could slip. Parity runs rampant. Parity runs rampant in this conference, and you know how it is with assassination attempts, right? You never know when it's gonna. So it's like that. Anyway, I think the Arizona Cardinals are gonna be decent. I think they're gonna go 9-7.
Okay. See, my whole thing is that I think that the Cardinals can challenge for the NFC West throne. The problem is it all depends on how Carson Palmer does.
Mm-hmm.
The entire season for the Arizona Cardinals hinges on the play of Carson Palmer. Like, for the past 2 years, besides 2016, 2014, and 2015, those teams like the 2014 team for the Cardinals could have easily won the division if Carlson Palmer could have gotten hurt, didn't get hurt. They could have won. They could have gotten the first seed, and we have a completely different playoff bracket.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, they get the second seed, going 13-3. Carson Palmer stays healthy for the whole season.
Yeah.
And but then he wets the bed in the NFC Championship game. But that's besides the point. The point is that this team rides on Carson Palmer's success, and if Carson Palmer has a decent season, I think that the Cardinals will make the playoffs. Maybe not as the division winner, but definitely as a wild card.
Possibly. All right.
I like the Cardinals every year. I think they're always a threat. I mean, last year they didn't have a great year, but they just had they just had the ball not fall their way for a long time last year. But it could always flip in a year. It happens to every team. The Raiders had everything go their way last year.
Yeah, and they lost their quarterback. All right, so bold predictions. I'm gonna say that David Johnson is not the leading rusher. The NFL's leading rusher. I think he's gonna be the number 5 best rusher in the National Football League. I think a lot of running backs are coming.
What about all-purpose yards?
I don't think he's going to be the best. I don't think he's going to be the best all-purpose yardage player. I don't think that's going to happen. I think.
So why'd you draft him first?
Well, because so that you couldn't get him, of course. I believe that Larry Fitzgerald will retire after this season, whether he has a good season or he doesn't have a good season. And the final bold prediction that I have is that Bruce Arians will complain after 1 out of 5 false start penalties.
Dude, that's like a foregone conclusion.
I know.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the Rams. That is DJ. So, what do you got?
All right, yeah. Well, the Rams are an interesting team. I think a lot of people have them obviously pretty low on the whole power rankings. I think that the Rams here, depending on their quarterback situation, which is, I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, Goff is in his second year, but he still looks like a frail shell of what he was in Cal. I think what the biggest thing that's like hankering them down right now is this Aaron Donald situation. He's still holding out, and he's over on the East Coast still, and they have our first game here in the next 4 or 5 days. So this is it's a very fluid situation right now. They even have talks right now if they're going to trade this guy because he's going to be holding out. They have not expressed interest in making a long-term deal because they got a new regime in there. So I'm guessing you're going to see Aaron Donald in another uniform here before, either at probably the second week of the season. They're going to try to make a trade here. I hope the Browns get him. That'd be DeMiles Garrett. And, oh man, it'd be a crazy offensive line, but. I think that's what the real situation with them is, and since he's a captain of the defense, I think it's going to really affect their whole defensive line, and they're not going to play very well on defense. I have them going 7-9 here. I guess the bold predictions that I would have, the first one would be that they finish second place in the division and snag a wild card spot if the Arizona Cardinals seem to falter. Second bold prediction from earlier when I mentioned the trade. They trade Aaron Donald to get some draft picks, either to the Browns or the Cowboys. Last bold prediction is that I think because of their offensive line, if Aaron Donald does come back, I think they go 3-1 in their division.
Oh, you mean 3-3?
I'm sorry, geez Louise. Yes.
They only have 4 teams.
4-2 in their division.
No,
okay.
I disagree with you in the fact that I think their defense is going to be the best part of their team. I mean, Wade Phillips is their defensive coordinator. When have you ever seen Wade Phillips' defense being horrible?
And you have Alex Ogletree, who's really good.
Yeah.
And then you have Aaron Donald. I mean, they have other guys up front that are nasty too. Aaron Donald's just one really good part of that defense, but defense is...
He's a linchpin, though, man.
Well, here's the thing. I think the Rams season, just like the Cardinals season, it's going to ride off of if Jared Goff can produce under Sean McVay. If Jared Goff ends up being a bust, like he ends up producing numbers like he did last year, and like making the same mistakes,
like under 4,000 yards passing and more
interceptions than touchdowns, or basically, then yeah. So it's gonna hinge on how well Jared Goff plays. So let's go ahead and move on to the final team in the West. Me covering the San Francisco dumpster fire. The San Francisco 49ers. I've never seen a team crumble so fast in my entire life, from a Super Bowl contender to straight up the league's laughingstock. Of course,
I have.
They did.
Who remembers the 2000? Hold on. Who remembers the 2009 Dallas Cowboys? And then who remembers?
We don't talk about that.
Who remembers the 2010 Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, we don't talk about that. Anyhow, but in all seriousness though, like, you had a team that went to the Super Bowl, went to the NFC Championship 3 times, then falls from grace to then it fell to 8-8, then 5-11, then finally to the floor at 2-14. So, me personally, I think that they did a fantastic job at John Lynch. I mean, thank goodness that they did replace their general manager. They, pretty much cleaned house. And, I think they did really well in the draft, in my opinion, getting Solomon Thomas and then trading up to get Reuben Foster, who's been looking like a fantastic player so far. Now, I think what's going to happen is I have the 49ers winning 4 games, mainly because I don't know how the offense is going to play out. But don't be surprised if they go like 5-11, 10-6, because this front 7 that they are establishing looks menacing.
Did you say they could go 5-11 or 10-6?
No, I said 5-11. No, I said they can either go 5-11 or 6-10.
Oh, 6-10. I thought you said 10-6. I was like, what? I don't think they're going 10.
Yeah. Watch, they will.
I could see 6-10, 7-9 maybe.
I mean, yeah, because I think their defense is looking very good. Like, they've been getting a lot of young talent on that, and changing to a 4-3. But so let's go ahead and go to bold predictions. So first bold prediction. The first bold prediction with the 49ers is that they win more than 3 games. Because why not? My second bold prediction is that CJ Beathard, the guy out of the 3rd round that they selected, starts for a majority of the season. And final prediction. Solomon Thomas, not Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster wins Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's why they called bold.
I could see Reuben Foster being good, actually. That guy was good. He was just injured coming out of college.
He was the biggest boomer bust pick in this draft. I mean, if he ends up panning out, oh my god. EDP's lotion. We've been waiting since January. Okay, so let's move on to a more competitive division. The NFC East. So last year, the NFC East...
Oh, yeah, the NFC East. Go ahead.
Whatever. So basically, you had this division end up having a much better competitive level than last year, or than 2015, where all the teams sucked. So let's go ahead and start with DJ and him covering the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I bet you would love to hear what I have to say about your boys, huh?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear how trash they are.
Well, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and normally, this is just normal for the Dallas Cowboys to have something coming in from the offseason to, affect them in obviously the regular season. And let's just start off with the whole elephant in the room, Mr. Zeke upholding the 6-game suspension on his appeal. Hey, Josh, I'm sorry you drafted him. Hey,
Didn't he draft McFadden too? So it's okay.
I drafted. Why are you sorry?
I have like 8 running backs.
He really does.
Very true, very true. But hey, that's a sad situation. That's a conversation for another day on how we can talk about the appeal and all that stuff. But just the fact that he's not going to be there day one, I think affects the offense in a whole nother way that people are not going to understand until he comes back week 7. He is a guy who is a threat out of the backfield for a receiving and obviously the running. And he makes the offensive line's jobs way much easier than what Darren McFadden would provide. So this is going to hamper the offense more so than what people are going to actually assume. I think let's just go with this out of the first 6 games. I believe that they're only going to win 3 out of those first 6 games. They're coming 3-3 by the time Zeke comes back in. And this would lead into my projection for their actual record at the end of the year at 10-6. 10-6 is going to be a good record for them because Zeke's going to come back and bolster that offensive line. I'm really worried actually about that defense though. Defense has always been a question for them, especially in the secondary. I know they got Sean Lee, but Sean Lee's very, very, very injury prone, and he is almost, I would have to say, pretty much if he does get hurt, their defense is going to suffer way more than their offense by losing Zeke. That guy is more so a linchpin to a defense than Ezekiel Elliott is a linchpin to that offense. So if he ends up going out with Zeke going out, there could be a tumultuous situation here in Dallas. As for my 3 bold predictions that come in for these boys, I guess a bold prediction with them going 8-8. That is a very significant possibility considering how topsy-turvy that division is and how people go 1-1. They all split throughout there, or sometimes they just can't beat the Giants. That's just, they could be going into the 5th straight game where they still can't beat the Giants. So there's a bunch of questions that still reside inside that organization. I think that it's in turmoil more than people think. I think Jerry Jones has.
Oh my God!
I know. I'm just thinking the worst right now, and this is just a gut feeling that I have. I have
a gut feeling too. The Browns are going to go 16. I'm playing.
Excuse me. Let me finish. But as far as that, my other bold predictions that obviously I think they win the Super Bowl. They could either go 8-8 or they could win the Super Bowl.
You can't have bold predictions like that.
I know.
That's like the biggest margin of error ever.
Yeah, well, no, because it could go all different ways. You guys see how this whole this offseason has gone for them. It's a normal offseason, so they should be used to it. But this is going to affect them. I really think so. I think this is going to be a hamper on the whole team not having their number 1 guy back there. As far as my last bold prediction, they don't make the playoffs.
Ooh. So let me get this straight.
So you have them go
wait. 8-8 winning the Super Bowl.
Guys, it's his bold prediction. I've accepted it.
I can't understand why people are still flabbergasted over bold predictions.
No. It's fine. No, it's fine. I just think it's kind of funny. Like, I understand they're bold predictions. Mine are outlandish too. See, here's my thing. My thing is that I think the Cowboys, hands down, know how to handle this running back situation more than any of the other teams in the NFC East. Darren McFadden, a former 1,000-yard rusher. Alfred Morris, another former 1,000-yard rusher.
These are key words here, Ricky. Former.
Yeah, but it's not like they're being used. Like, it's not like their legs are being like. Yeah, sure, they're older. I'm not trying to.
McFadden lasted a whole season as a starting running back. He is very injury prone when he came
2015.
out of Oakland. This is not a guy who you. No, I'm serious though. That's what I'm saying. Is if you're going to use him that much in the 6 games, I'm going to say that he gets hurt, and you're going to have to go to your 3rd string.
Look, I have them winning going 10-6, 11-5 at most. I mean, you got to keep in mind that the team is more centered around Dak than it is Zeke, and a lot of people have that misconception.
Yeah, but once one thing goes awry, Des Bryant gets all pissed off, and then your second-year quarterback doesn't know how to handle the situation. It could go a bunch of different ways.
Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the most overrated team.
Perfect.
I know, I understand. I just happen to disagree, but I'm not going to go any further because we have to move on. So, So Josh, go ahead and talk about the most overrated team in the division. It's become a running gag now. No, but no seriousness.
That beat the Cowboys twice last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Giants, as we all know. But I do think this team, the offense hinges on Eli Manning, because it is a position where it can't just hinge on Odell Beckham. Having a bad day, it's not really going to help Odell Beckham. But I do think that Odell also plays a huge part. They did get Brandon Marshall, so my question is that going to be good or is that going to be bad? It's going to help in the beginning of the season, especially if Odell doesn't play the first game because of his ankle injury he sustained in preseason. We're going to get more touchdowns than him. Is he going to get more attention? He's a really big red zone target. Is OBJ going to get all he's not attention and become? I think there's a lot of things on that team that could hinder that team outside of their ability to play football. But one thing that is going to hinder them on the field is their offensive line. I think it's really, really not good at all. Eli may be able to kind of help with that a little bit, but in the long run, I think that they really need to focus some drafting or spend some free agent money and get offensive linemen. I think they really need to do that if they want to be successful in the long term. I have this team. I was just going to say, I have this team actually going 6-10, or 7-9, and missing out playoffs, and that is because they play a pretty tough stretch. Their first 6 games consist of going to Dallas. Then they have to play against the Lions, and the Lions actually, I think, are a really good team. Then they have to go to Philadelphia and play the Eagles. Then they have to go to Tampa Bay and play the Buccaneers. Then they play the Chargers at home, but then they have to go to Denver and play the Broncos. They also have the Seahawks, the Chiefs, the Redskins, obviously the Redskins, but the Raiders and the Cardinals this year as well. So I think they slip out the gate, and a tough start of their season spells disaster the rest of the way. And I think they kind of finish at 6-10 or 7-9.
And don't forget how bad Eli Manning and the Giants are against Phillip Rivers. Like, the moment that Eli was traded to the Giants from the Chargers for Phillip Rivers was the moment they were automatically cursed against
the Chargers. Rivers. If it ever comes down to the Chargers and the Giants in the Super Bowl, which God, I hope that never happens, the Giants are going to lose.
Yeah.
Just because of that curse. But my bold predictions real quick. I think that Brandon Marshall's actually going to score more touchdowns than Odell Beckham this year. And on top of that, I kind of already said it. I think that they completely missed the playoffs. But I do think that they have a number on the Cowboys right now, and they sweep the Cowboys this year.
Ooh.
Okay. So I think, and I know Giants fans love me because they love my glorious opinion on the Giants and how overrated they are. No, but I think in all seriousness, though, when you're looking at this team, they got to re-sign Odell Beckham Jr., right? So you have to keep in mind that if Eli Manning plays another season, he has a considerable amount against the cap. Then that defense has a considerable amount against the cap, considering they just re-signed Jason Pierre-Paul. Now, if you re-sign Odell Beckham, you will literally be you cannot make any moves. Yeah, you could trade players and stuff, but you can't do any moves in free agency. But I personally have them going 9-7, 10-6, mainly because I'm leaning more towards 9-7, mainly because of the defense, unless I'm proven otherwise. But yes, I think that this season will hinge on Eli's play. If we get comedian Eli, they can go 7-9, 6-10. If we get the decent Eli, then this team has the capabilities of going 10-6, 11-5. So, okay, so let's go. Let me go ahead and talk about the Eagles. So I was assigned this team. I hate this team with a passion, but I gotta be honest. This team is an extremely intriguing team, mainly because they have the young quarterback prospect in Carson Wentz. They have a decent offensive line, decent amount of good weapons for the rookie. Excuse me, for Carson Wentz, and then the defense is looking really, really good. So I think that they're going in the right direction. I think what this team is missing is a solid running back, like a LaShawn McCoy, for example. I mean, if Doug Peterson wants to utilize LeGarrette Blount, if they want to utilize LeGarrette Blount, then they have to start running downhill more. But I feel as if like a Corey Clement or a Wendell Smallwood would best fit in the Eagles system right now, considering they run a lot of sweeps and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But realistically, I believe I had the Eagles winning 9 games, mainly because I don't know how the offensive line is going to hold. But I mean, me and Hank, we were watching preseason. I understand it's preseason, and some parts of the offensive line look pretty shaky, like the center position, for example.
The same center I met at a restaurant in Atlantic City.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the left guard position. I mean, the tackles are solid, but yeah. I mean, Jason Peters is getting older. Lane Johnson, if he could stay off the PEDs, then I mean, the Eagles have a chance to make the playoffs. I'm not going to deny that, but I just don't think they will, mainly because of the schedule, and I don't know how this team's going to operate. I don't know if Carson Wentz is going to take a tick up or down. I think he's going to take a tick up, but I don't know how far up it's going to go. So as for my bold predictions, my first bold prediction is Carson Wentz leads the league in pass attempts. My second bold prediction, that LeGarrette Blount scores 10 rushing touchdowns. And my final bold prediction is that the Eagles make the playoffs.
Wow.
So with that being said, we're going to... Go ahead.
I think the Eagles are a good team. I think the Eagles are a really good team.
I just think it's a matter.
Excel this year.
Allow me to give my Owen Wilson meow. Wow.
Wow. Okay, let's move on to the Redskins.
I think the Eagles. I think the Eagles will be 9-7. I think to begin with, it's going to be really shaky at the very beginning because they haven't proven that they can beat the Redskins. They haven't beaten the Redskins in almost 3 calendar years. And I don't think they're going to win Kansas City, and I think that they're going to lose to the Chargers because they also suck against Phillip Rivers. So I think you could possibly see this team start out 1-3, and then eventually just going to pick up. I do, however, my bold prediction for this team is that I believe that in Week 16, I think that the Eagles are going to beat the Raiders at home on Christmas Day, I believe. I think the Eagles are going to beat the Raiders. I think the Eagles are going to upset the Raiders. That's like my big bold prediction. But yeah, let's move on to the Redskins. The team that has been in the nail in my side for the last 3 calendar years. Haven't beaten the Washington Redskins in DC since 2013. They're a team that you always expect to be a complete dumpster fire, but then they end up being like, Kirk Cousins isn't necessarily the greatest gift to mankind, like he wants to be paid, but he's definitely prone to showing people up, and I think that they have a running back by commission kind of thing going on. They've got Terrell Pryor. They've got Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder, probably one of the best slot receivers / return men in the NFL right now. Not to mention, they still have Josh Norman at cornerback. And they just brought what's his name? Sua Cravens back from retirement. They begged him back from retirement, which I happen to know that doesn't always work. But I think this Redskins team is just always difficult for me to place, where they're going to be, because I always say they're going to be bad, and they always end up being way better than I expected them to be. So, my bold predictions are this. The Washington Redskins will lose once to the Eagles this season. That is a very bold prediction because it hasn't happened over the last 2 NFL seasons. So I think the Eagles and the Redskins are going to split. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to throw for 30 touchdowns and 4,500 yards, and I think that the running back that's going to emerge is going to be Samaje Perine.
Perine.
I think that Perine is going to have 8 rushing touchdowns this year. I really like these Oklahoma running backs. Not their character off the field as much as their character on the field. So those are my predictions. I think the Redskins are going to be an 8-win team.
Ooh, okay. So let's go ahead, move on to the last division. That being the AFC West, arguably the greatest division in all of pro football. Now,
right now?
Yeah, right now.
Right now.
So let's go ahead and get into this. So we had pretty much it looked like the Raiders were going to win that division, but then Derek Carr took an arrow to the knee. Well, it was his fibula, the leg, and the Raiders.
It was shot. It was shot.
Exactly. It was DJ.
It was shot by DJ.
It was DJ. He was there. DJ always has never let DJ go to a Raiders game with anybody listening out there. He's bad luck. They've lost every time he goes to a game.
How many times have we had those stats this year? If DJ goes to a opposing team's stadium for his team, then your team's quarterback will most likely have a knee injury or a broken leg. That's mainly what happens. This has been proven 3 games over now. So it's not like the scientific method needs to be said. All right, it's just pure fact. All right, not alternative facts, not news.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get into this division. So the winners of the division, the Kansas City Chiefs, pretty much won it by default, in my opinion, mainly because the Raiders pretty much faltered because they had, Derek Carr out. So go ahead, Josh, lead us off with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're kind of one of those weird teams where they're always like a good team. They always have a good record. They're always in the last few years. So I think that they don't have any. Alex Smith is a good game manager and doesn't really turn the ball over that much, but I don't think they really have star power that you need. And I just feel like no matter how good this team is, them topping a team like the Steelers or the Patriots in the playoffs. I just can't see them doing it in the playoffs. Maybe during the season, yeah, but choke. They always just get there, and then it just doesn't look good. The first half of that game where they played against the Patriots, they looked like they were in control. Then they knew what they were doing the rest of the game. Their clock management's bad. So I actually have this team doing decently this year, but like 9-7 decent. I have them doing 9-7, maybe 10-6, maybe 10-6 if some of the games swing their way. If they get that Raider luck that the Raiders had last year up until Derek Carr got hurt, where games were just they were winning them down on the wire. And 6, but I have them at a very mediocre 9-7, missing the playoffs. I don't think they're one of the teams to go to the playoffs as a division winner or a wild card. I don't think they make it in this year.
Okay.
They do not return to the playoffs this year. They're out of the playoffs. My second bold prediction is Tyreek Hill scores 10-plus touchdowns this year, easily. And then my third bold prediction here is Patrick Mahomes starts a game before the end of the season.
Interesting. So do you think that's going to play a factor in the record prediction? Like, you think because of Patrick Mahomes starting, so whatever point in the season, like, do you see? Well, yeah, obviously. Like, when would you say you see him play Patrick Mahomes?
I would say if there's because Patrick Mahomes, I just don't think he's NFL ready. He can make every throw you want him to make. I just think that they might start him if the team starts to falter and they just kind of go on like a little skid, open it up. Maybe if Alex Smith tries to do too much, which he's prone to doing, and he gets Kaepernicked again, where he thinks he's safe, and then they draft a quarterback behind him, and then all of a sudden, one thing happens, and they'll throw Patrick Mahomes in, and then they'll say, well, let's start him and give him a chance to start. And I think that's how Patrick Mahomes is going to get his start.
Mm-hmm.
The story for the quarterback to have is Alex Smith's career. And the fact that it's never when I've seen in the AFC Championship games or the NFC Championship games is he actually helped try to win the game. Like in the NFC Championship, the 2 fumbles, 2 punts, okay, from a different guy. That's why they lost the game. For the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year, his defense game. This wasn't – they put up points is the thing. There's only so much a quarterback can do if the defense cannot stop the other team's offense. And, again, you're not going to have Alex Smith be the run gunner guy. He's just going to get you down the methodical way. So you're usually pretty good. And
you
do an all over.
DJ, you do know that the Steelers beat him in the divisional round mainly off of field goals, right?
But they still didn't stop him, did they?
I obviously agree with you on there. I'm just informing you.
But that defense, what I'm saying is that defense is number 1, number 2, number 1, number 2 throughout the regular season. And that's why he does so well throughout the regular season. But every time, it seems like either the special teams or the defenses always choke when he's in the playoffs. That's why I know a field goal is holding someone to 3 points. I get that. But how many field goals were there? 5 field goals?
I think
there were 5. I think so. No. There were definitely 6. I think the ending score was like 18
6
to
field
15.
goals, and I think a touchdown was mixed in there. But that still, you're at your home. Come on.
Alrighty, so let's move on to the Oakland Raiders, one of the surprise teams of last year. So, in essence, this team should have definitely won the AFC West last year, but because of Derek Carr's injury, they ended up getting a wild card berth, and they eventually lost to the Houston Texans. So, looking at this team, the schedule is going to be tougher. So, getting straight to the prediction of record-wise, I have them going between 11-5. Well, my prediction's 11-5. Well, my ceiling for them is 13-3, 14-2. If Marshawn Lynch can pan out and be the running back he was with Seattle, this team will be electric. They are hands down definitely a contender against New England if things work out. But they have a competitive division, so that could possibly where their record ends up going from a 13 upwards of possible 13-3 down to 11-5 or 10-6. But I have them winning the West at a 11-5 record. And so as for my bold predictions, first bold prediction is Derek Carr wins MVP. Second bold prediction is that Khalil Mack gets 15 plus sacks. Final bold prediction is that
I could see that he is the reigning defensive player of the year, so I could absolutely see that happening.
And my final bold prediction, which is a very bold one, Marshawn Lynch gains 1,000 yards rushing. Now, okay, so pretty much just to wrap up with the whole Raiders, in essence, this team, again, the defense is improving. They have pretty much the team is balanced. It's just they have an aging offensive line and some aspects of the defense as well that they have to care for. But outside of that, this team is very balanced and can contend with New England.
Kelechi Osemele is not aging.
Yeah, but Donald Penn is.
They just acquired him in trade from the Ravens. It's when his rookie contract ran up. He's in his mid-20s.
Yeah, but Donald Penn, who is the staple
Donald
of the line,
Penn.
is.
Yeah.
Too, but they just got rid of Austin Howard. So they got rid of some of the age there. I think they'll be fine at offensive line.
Yeah. The one thing that's going to bring this team down is going to be the defense. That's what it said. The secondary is going to bring this team down. That's the only flaw that they have right now. By the way, they just signed Sebastian, so Sebastian's good. By the way, Hank, you don't need another kicker.
Yeah.
Too spooky for me.
I already have him in one of my leagues. I think in our league.
Okay, so let's move on to the Broncos. DJ, the Broncos.
The Broncos.
Well, I hate this team almost as much as I hate this team. I mean, this team is up there. Can't believe I have to talk about, how they're going to do. My gut would want to tell me that, they go 0-16, but that's just.
Why do you hate them?
Because
Ernest
we talked about
you should
80s,
hate
the 80s.
The fumble.
You should hate Ernest Weiner, not the Broncos.
The drive. There's two freaking names both the Broncos and the Browns. Anyways, besides Mike for the Broncos, I believe that the year, I think they're going to be battling with Kansas City and the Chargers. I believe that this division is just going to be so competitive and it's going to be tough for the Raiders to try to get a 12-4 record. I think 10-6 is what they get out of, and I think the Broncos will go 8-8, and I believe that the Chargers will go 9-7. I mean, I think that's what this division is going to pan out to be.
So nobody's
the Bronx situation.
So nobody's going to go
quarterbacks.
So no one's going to go under 500.
No, I understand that. I get that, but I don't know. Out of all the other predictions that we've had for the other teams here, I feel like this is the most that it could go. It's just so competitive. That's what it comes down to. And if teams play well outside of division, it could really end up in any sort of fashion. I think that the Broncos are going to be fine on the defensive end. I know they're getting older, but I think this is one of the last years that they're going to be one of the elite defenses. But I believe that the main issue is at the quarterback position. They're starting Osweiler. They have the guy that they drafted about a year ago. He's not really panning out. So Osweiler gets the second position, and Simeon starts. If Simeon it becomes like an Alex Smith type character, this team could go 10-6. If he buckles like he's done in the past, where he's not consistent at all, this team can easily go 7-9 or 8-8. I believe that their defense is what actually won them a championship. So I believe that they're going to end up on the other side of 500, which is the winning side, maybe 9-7. It's just going to be such a tough division, so competitive. I believe that for a poll prediction, I have that they win the division.
Wow.
That would be a poll prediction.
Wow.
Poll prediction is that Brock Osweiler ends up starting. Redeem himself. And another bold prediction, because this doesn't usually happen for a second string quarterback, is that he gets booed on the first game and he runs out on the field.
Oh, okay.
Brock Osweiler.
So,
Brock Osweiler. All right, you want me to go?
Was that so,
final one, our last team. That's Josh has the cover.
No, me.
No, Hank. Duh, Hank. You gotta cover those Los Angeles Chargers.
So the way I see with the San Diego Chargers, I don't care that they're called LA. They're called San Diego to piss DJ off.
That's not politically correct.
But the LA Chargers. I know that Josh hates Phillip Rivers more than life itself, or
Phillip Rivers is a
more
G.
than anything else in life. Phillip Rivers.
He's possibly my least favorite player in the NFL. Least favorite player in the NFL.
If you've never seen Phillip Rivers, he's one of those guys who, if he throws an interception, he'll run over to the water boy and basically point the fingers at him for why he threw the interception. That's basically Phillip Rivers' MO. He talks an exorbitant amount of trash. Everyone remembers his first season as a starter where he played the Denver Broncos and he was just like talking crap about Jay Cutler, which, I mean, it's not that hard to do. We probably all do it every day. But the San Diego Chargers are an interesting team in the fact that, you know, they have Melvin Gordon. He's an up-and-coming running back. Their first overall pick at wide receiver, who is Mike Williams, which, by the way, you never pick a guy named Mike Williams who plays wide receiver.
I don't believe he's playing, right?
I don't think he's playing either, but I think that originally he was supposed to be out for the season, but now he's going to be out for a much shorter time. They still have Keenan Allen at wide receiver, who always gets injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Travis Benjamin. They have Travis Benjamin, the guy who used to play for the Browns and then got traded over there.
Yeah, they do have Travis Benjamin. They have Hunter Henry at tight end, who, you know, is an up-and-coming fantasy player who plays quite decently. They still have, I believe they still have Antonio Gates, but he's not their starter.
But they're not utilizing him as often.
So, I mean, this is a team that, you know, usually always plays relatively decently on defense. Phillip Rivers is still, you know, an avid quarterback. I don't think he's considered of the elite in the NFL, but he always throws for over 4,000 yards and, you know, over 20 touchdowns. So he's at least consistent for himself. But Phillip Rivers is a gunslinger in the fact that he will throw to any parts of the field, whether he'll throw into triple coverage if he needs to. He's kind of like one of those sloppy quarterbacks who, you know, he'll always throw for a lot of yards, but then when you look at the stat sheet, he'll have like 3 interceptions. So, I mean, the Chargers are going to be a tough team to place. The last few seasons, they have not done well. I think one of those seasons they were 4-12, or maybe 3-13. So I've got the Chargers with 7 wins next season. That's where I've got them. Bold predictions: Melvin Gordon will have 12 rushing touchdowns next season, which is still a bold number because 12 is still quite an achievement for rushing for a running back. I think that Phillip Rivers, you know, obviously he's going to play all 16 games of the season. He usually plays all 16 games of the season. I think he's going to throw for 4,500 passing yards, and he's going to have 30 passing touchdowns with 20 interceptions. And my final bold prediction is one of these days I'm going to try to figure out who the Chargers head coach is.
I don't even know who the guy's name is.
Because, like, I just don't care. Anyway, but I think that the Chargers are going to pick at that division, but in the end, I think it's going to be 2-4 is going to be their record. They're still going to struggle in their division.
Okay.
I mean, you never know, but you need to see, you know, what they have on the field. It's unfortunate that it's like week 1 and you're like, yeah, didn't see much of them in the preseason, so you don't really know what to expect from them during the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that concludes the analysis of our divisions, but now we're going to move on. Finally, the NFL season is upon us. Since I live in the future, in about like 15 minutes, it's going to be the day of NFL kickoff. So tomorrow, let's do a brief synopsis of what we're doing. We're going to go through all the games, pretty much do quick predictions for the smaller games, but for the primetime games, we're going to analyze certain aspects of the game, but whatever. So for the first game, we have tomorrow is against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing in New England. New England is given a 79% chance by the glorious Bing engine to win.
Ooh, Bing.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Bing.
I don't know about you guys, but I've got the Patriots winning. I don't.
Yeah, I got the Patriots.
I don't necessarily have a score total, but I think
we all have
to win.
the Patriots winning that one.
Patriots by 10.
What about you, DJ?
I don't know if I have I don't do scores. Ask Hank. I never do scores.
Yeah,
I don't do score. I'll give you like by however many points, but I won't do like 24-20. You know what I mean? Like
Patriots win 38-17.
All right.
What did he say?
He said Patriots win something 17.
Okay. And okay.
All right. What's the next game?
Flip 1 second. Okay, so what did you say, Hank? You said the Patriots,
I said
right?
the Patriots, yeah.
Okay.
We all said the Patriots.
Are we sure? Are you sure about that? No. Okay, so let's go through all the 1 o'clock games. Don't bother doing any analysis. Just pick a team. New York Jets at Buffalo Bills. I got the Bills.
You have to say who they're playing against.
Oh, the Jets.
I said who.
Yeah, he said the Jets.
The Jets versus Bills in Buffalo.
Bills win that one.
Okay.
I'm guessing that DJ is gonna pick the Jets.
Where is he? I don't know. Let's just get through these real quick. Atlanta Falcons at Chicago Bears. I got Atlanta.
I have Hotlanta as well. Hotlanta's going to win that game.
What about you?
Upset special, people. Chicago.
Ooh.
That's my upset game. The Chicago Bears. Da Bears.
Da Bears. Okay, the next game, Baltimore Ravens at Cincinnati Bengals. I got the Ravens.
Yes, I have the Ravens as well.
I have the Ravens, even though they're like you, Hank, and we haven't won in Cincy in like three seasons or something.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a rough feeling.
DJ?
I have the Ravens winning this game.
Okay.
I believe it's going to be a 21-11. It's going to be a weird one.
Oh boy. Next game, the most anticipated game for DJ, Pittsburgh Steelers at Cleveland Browns. I got Pittsburgh by 28. No, I'm playing.
I have Pittsburgh too, and I do think that Ben Roethlisberger might get sacked by Myles Garrett.
Well, here's the thing, Hank. Myles Garrett has a little bit of an ankle sprain, so he's questionable for the game. Bringing this up, I believe that the Browns are going to end up losing this game because of that sheer fact. I believe that's going to be close. Close. Steelers win 2017.
Okay. So, wait, Josh, did you say who was going to win?
I think the Steelers have this one.
Okay. Now
back
moving
to beat them at the end of the season after they win 9 in a row.
Yes. Both.
Yeah, and then they miss it on the playoffs. Okay. So next game, Arizona at Detroit. I have Detroit here.
Arizona.
At Detroit, I have Detroit winning at home.
I have Arizona.
I have Arizona winning. David Johnson still gets David Johnson numbers, but they can't do it on offense, and I think the Cardinals win this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Jacksonville at Houston. I have Houston winning.
Houston.
I have Houston winning that one.
I have Jacksonville upsetting Houston.
DJ needs to have Jacksonville upsetting basically everybody this season.
Okay. All right, guys. Moving on. Oakland Raiders at Tennessee Titans.
So this was one of our games that count.
Okay, so we're gonna hold off on that one.
Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles at Washington Redskins.
I have the Redskins until
I have the Eagles.
I have the Eagles winning.
Until the Eagles beat the Redskins.
I got the Eagles winning too. Winning too.
So down on your team, Hank. Playing. Okay. So in the final game before we get into the deep, or actually 2 more games until we get to the deep analysis. Indianapolis Colts at Los Angeles Rams. I have the Rams.
I have the Colts.
I have the Rams.
Oh,
I have the Rams winning that one.
Actually, I forgot that Andrew Luck's not starting. I have the Rams.
Yet they give the Colts a 57% chance to win. Okay, finally. Oh my God. They gave the 49ers a 61% chance to beat Carolina at home. I have the Carolina Panthers.
Because the Niners have won the last 3 opening games in a row.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But it's going to end here. Carolina's going to beat San Francisco.
I have the Niners winning that.
I have the Niners winning as well. I have no pity for the kitty.
That was awesome.
What do you got, DJ?
Oh, I have the Niners winning.
Okay. And I'll make sure to keep track of this, like in the comments or whatever. Okay, now we're going to get into the games that count. So the first game that counts in our eyes is the Oakland Raiders at the Tennessee Titans. Me personally, I have the Titans winning this matchup mainly because they're home, and if you remember, the Titans did beat the Raiders on a game-winning timeout. I'm sorry, I'm being stupid. They didn't. I don't think they beat the. Wait, did they? I don't think they played them. I'm thinking of the Kansas City Chiefs. I apologize. The brain fart there. No, but I had the Tennessee Titans winning. I feel like Oakland's going to start off slow. I feel like Derek Carr's still going to try and get into the hang of things. And I think.
I was about to say I have the Raiders winning this. I think Marshawn Lynch is going to be the X factor in this game, and it's going to be close, but they're going to win by 1 score with a 3-yard rush by Marshawn Lynch in the 4th quarter.
I'll go ahead and I think I said I was going to pick the Titans here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick them. Again, not because of any bias or anything, but I think that this is going to be like a 31-28 game. I think that the Titans defense is going to be too difficult for the Raiders on the road. And I know that the Raiders have beaten the Titans the last 2 seasons, but I don't know. I just have a gut feeling.
Okay.
Did Josh pick?
I agree with Hank. I actually think the Titans are going to beat the Raiders this time, especially because they're playing in Tennessee, and Marcus Mariota ain't no slouch.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the Raiders were like number 1 team on all winning in the road. So they are used to winning on the road. I think they're going to come out and they're going to win this game.
Okay. So moving on to another marquee matchup this week is Green Bay versus Seattle in Green Bay. Yes, the Seattle Seahawks defense did get better, but their offense lost a key weapon in Curse. I had the Green Bay Packers winning at home.
In the Green Bay.
I have the Packers winning as well.
In the Green Bay.
Me too.
I have the Packers winning simply for 2 words. Aaron.
Aaron Blocky.
Blocky.
Aaron Rodgers. So what's the next game?
So we're all in agreement with the Packers because I didn't hear a couple of you guys.
Yeah, unanimous Packers.
Okay.
Did you not hear me say
No,
Aaron?
I heard it. No, I heard that. I didn't hear Hank or DJ.
Oh, yeah.
I have the Packers winning this game.
Okay.
I think Aaron Rodgers will pocket.
Okay, so moving on to probably the most intriguing matchup of the week, mainly because of the outside forces, not the weather. Basically Zeke's going to be playing. And I'm referring to the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys for Sunday Night Football. I've been looking. I've been trying to see if Odell Beckham Jr. is going to play. He has not yet practiced, and if he does not practice, I believe it's like if he does not attend the final practice, he can't play. I think that's the rule. Well, I could be wrong. So let me just put it this way. If Odell is playing, I have the Giants winning in a close one. However, if Odell isn't playing, I have the Cowboys winning.
I'm picking the Cowboys because I don't think Odell's going to play.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen anything otherwise. So, I think like I said, as of right now, my pick would be the Dallas Cowboys.
I'll go with
go.
I'll side with the Giants on that one because they still have Brandon Marshall and a strong defense.
Yeah,
that is true.
That's my main thing. I think the Giants are going to win their 5th straight against the Cowboys.
It's their 4th straight.
No, it'd be their 4th straight.
Yeah.
4th straight? Okay.
It would be their 4th straight, right?
Yeah. I think the Cowboys are going to win because Kelly's listening.
Who knows? Yeah, again, it depends on the status of Odell Beckham Jr. for the most part. Okay, so with that being said, let's move into the Monday night matchups. We have 2. The first one being New Orleans at Minnesota. I have the Minnesota Vikings winning this matchup.
It's New Orleans in Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Guys,
so I'm going to...
It's New Orleans playing in Minnesota, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's
can't hear
why
you.
I'm giving this to Drew Brees. Hey, this is why I'm giving this one to Drew Brees, because I know it's a Minnesota home game, but guess what? He's playing. So I'm going to give this one to Drew Brees. I think they win by one score.
Okay.
I have Drew Brees winning. The Saints. AP coming back to win.
We just say Drew Brees is going to win this game, not the Saints. Drew Brees win this game.
No, but you have Adrian Peterson coming back to the Minnesota too, so I think that's going to play a huge role. I think AP could have a giant game.
What, 150, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns? I see that. I can see that.
Nah, I think Adrian Peterson is washed up.
No, listen. Drew Brees never had someone like Adrian Peterson in the background.
I'm sorry. I just think the guy's washed up.
Really?
I don't think he's washed up, but I do think I don't think he's going to be the starter, and I think that the Vikings are going to win because they have a superior defense, and they have Dalvin Cook at running back.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on.
The final game.
Final game of the week 1 being Los Angeles Chargers versus the Denver Broncos in Denver. I'm going to give the Denver Broncos this win.
Same.
I have the Broncos winning because it's in Denver. That's always a tough place to play, especially to start your season out in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I got the Chargers winning this one. I know you said it's a tough place to play, Josh, but guess what? Philip Rivers has been playing there for a decade. He's been playing there. He knows how to play there. I think the Chargers come in and they upset the Broncos because the Broncos still don't know what they're doing on offense.
Okay, so that wraps up this podcast for tonight. We completed all the entire analysis. So we're going to be returning to sports and news and reactions from the games of the NFL season, and other sports news
next week.
Sounds good. I mean, this was a good synopsis of what we're going to be seeing in the season. Obviously, these are takes until we see what's going on throughout the remainder of the season. But it's going to be a fun ride.
So yeah, so expect us to return to our normal format of just doing regular news, sports news that comes out, and as well as probably the game predictions. I think we're gonna do the same format, just do quick predictions for the non-important, or not necessarily non-important non-important games, and then the important games we'll label and do in-depth picks. So yeah.
All right.
Sounds good, guys.
Hope everyone has a good day. Hopefully you have a good football day tomorrow, and
don't
we'll
die.
come back to you guys next week after we get to have our first weekend of football. So all you football fans out there, go out and enjoy it, but be safe. Uber, Lyft, do not drink and drive.
Yes.
So I think what I'm gonna do on Sunday at least, Josh, I'm gonna be going up to the San Ho, and I'm gonna be watching the games at the bar.
Nice.
So I'll be there, and I'm gonna try to stream.
I'm glad all of our audience heard that. Anyways, guys, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. Hope you guys had a good time. I know we enjoyed it. And once again, we'll see you after this week of great football.
All right.
Alrighty.
Everyone
See you
have
later.
a good night.